So my name is Lindsay Putnam, and I run a program called LEEP at the Marion Cross School, and that stands for Learning About Experiential Education. Whoops, I screwed it up. Learning about environmental education through experiential projects. This program was created initially by two women who were teachers here, and they hired someone to do a different kind of program than we have now. This person created curriculum and trained other teachers in how to do environmental activities that were more game-based. And the idea behind the program was that teachers throughout the school were doing environmental education, but they were doing it very unsystematically. Some teachers were more familiar with the subject area than others, and so some classes were getting more exposure than others were. Some teachers went on a lot of field trips or hikes, and other classes didn't. So the idea was that it would standardize an environmental education program. And so when I took it over in its second year, I started by asking people, what do you want? What do you need from me? And they were less interested in environmental games. They were less interested in being trained to run things on their own. And they wanted a school naturalist. They wanted somebody who could help them teach the kids science. And so we went from a program more like you would see at a camp, a summer camp, to field-based science. And it has evolved over time. It's gotten more in-depth. It's great that we are able to do it through all 6 grades, because we can start in kindergarten with an awareness of environmental education and environmental science and how to be a scientist in the field. And by the time kids are in 6th grade, they're really doing very impressive stuff. And so it builds on itself that way very nicely. We were doing a water quality analysis that we've done for probably 15 years, and we report the results to the Conservation Commission, the Norwich Conservation Commission.
I think we're just gonna find a bunch of animals. Well, no, not animals.
Organisms.
Yeah, organisms and stoneflies.
Mayflies.
Yeah, and then maybe if we're lucky, find a crayfish. And then
Fly larva, crane fly larva.
Well, but the thing is, it depends how good the water value is.
So the way they determine it is by collecting samples of benthic macroinvertebrates, which are the little bugs that live on the bottom. And every one of those has a particular pollution tolerance. And so they identify the bugs, they give it a score based on its pollution tolerance, and they do a calculation that gives a total score for the brook. And what we've been finding out every year is that it is extremely good water. It's not impacted by, you can use the word pollution, but other things impact water too, and so this is good quality water in Blood Brook. We think a lot about safety on field trips and managing the crowd, and so we had not so many kids, but there was enough room for everybody to have their space and not be all on top of each other, and that shoreline was safe, shallow, no high water. They've been doing this since they were kindergartners, so they know how to behave in the field. They have a task, a very specific task.
Oh, hey, look. You found something.
Just slip off. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, what in the world is that?
It looks like a stonefly.
Stonefly larva? Yeah, I think that's a stonefly larva.
It's a real task. This gets reported to the town, and there's a precedent that we've been doing this, and this is an important piece of data, and it's their job, and they kind of rise to that. I would say that's true pretty quickly after kindergarten. Third grade, second grade, there's still a lot of exploration going on, and the same for third, but they're expected to collect data in the field in a way that is, controlled and accurate, and they get better at it every year.
We're usually under rocks, kind of hiding in the river, so we're like kind of rubbing them to get any bugs off and catch them in the net.
Oh, look how huge that is! Oh my god!
I would say that as much as possible, everything we do is experience-based to some degree, and so this program is a natural fit for this school, but it is also specifically designed to get the kids outside doing field research. It definitely makes more of an impact, I believe, to have your hands doing something, doing the real thing yourself than reading about it, especially for students, for kids. I think that would be the same for everybody, but the experience is more visceral. It's your every emotion is engaged, every sense. It's something that your brain really can wrap itself around. It's not just reading, which is really a very sterile kind of a way to experience science. This way of doing science is completely 100% sensual and experiential.
Oh, there's something.
Wait, where is it? Can you scoop it up?
We got so many mayflies.
Alright, what is this?
Another mayfly.
Oh, there it is. It was right there. Oh my gosh.
I think it has a lot to do with the teachers. They're very creative, and they understand that kids learn by doing. He's a great teacher. His approach is to be structured in such a way that they know what to expect and what to do, and the fact that they're not willy-nilly all over the place is a result of that. Some schools around here have had a program like this in the past, and I believe that some may still, but it takes funding. And about 12 or so, 10 years ago, Antioch was funding trial programs like this along the Upper Valley. Some of those schools were able to hang on to that, and when Antioch stopped funding it, and some of them haven't been able to. If I was trying to really pitch it, I would invite somebody to come like you guys did, because you really get the full sense of it if you participate and look at their work and look at their enthusiasm.
I just like going in the river and exploring and figuring out what things are.
It's just kind of fun to find really big bugs, because they're very fascinating, and like they're kind of like, wow.
I was touching the huge thing!
Exactly. You want to know what the environment is like down there. So you don't want to just look for the good guys or just look for the aquatic worms that can tolerate anything. You want to get the best idea you can of the whole environment. And so to do that, is it good to have a few or is it good to have a lot?
Good to have a lot.
A lot, definitely. Gives you a better picture. It's like when you go to vote, you know, for something in town, if only 2 people show up at the voting booth instead of 200, then you don't really know what the whole town feels like. So the more population we can have, the higher population in our counts, in our data, then the better, the more close we are to, you know, a really accurate number or accurate picture, I should say. Okay? Good? Well done. Let's go. They're great kids, and it's great that they gain experience, you know, through all 6 classes, so grades, so that they can do some real science.